It's the Harris Football Podcast with your host, Christopher Harris.
Welcome! Hey, everybody! Welcome in! My name is Chris, and this continues to be a show. Thank you for listening, everybody. Welcome to your off-season. Welcome to Thursday morning shows for the next 5 weeks leading up to the Super Bowl. Thank you for being here and for listening. We have some fun football topics coming to you throughout January into February, which will include today with Jimmy McCormick taking time away from teaching the young children of Philadelphia to speak with us about some players who are just weird players, weird outlier seasons in 2025. What do we think of those performances? How do we think it will go with them going forward? I'm looking forward to getting to that in just a few minutes. However, unfortunately, this is one of those shows. I just got to come on here and acknowledge the real world and how I'm feeling about it, because it just feels kind of disingenuous and maybe a little gross to pretend everything's normal. If you're in the U.S., you probably understand. Yesterday was just crazy, and it's been tough over the past year to keep talking about something as dumb as the NFL while just a lot of bad stuff keeps happening. If you're somewhere else not in the U.S., and we have lots of you listening, thank you. I'm assuming you look at our ridiculous country with a mix of like anxiety and gym face, like get a load of these idiots, which is fair. One thing I really don't want to hear from you today, from anybody, is stick to sports. That was a really common refrain like 10, 15 years ago. The very instant anything on a sports show talked about something other than sports, you get an avalanche of people who thought it was really appropriate and cool to tell you, hey, stick to sports. Like, I don't come here to think about the real world. I come to be entertained. If that's your instinct to tell me that, I love you. I really do. My advice is just keep it to yourself. Or if it's that overwhelming, find another show to listen to, because for a few minutes, I'm not sticking to sports. When you see a slow motion destruction of a lot of what it means to be an American, I think most importantly, when you see what it's like to live in a post-facts world where people can take a video that very clearly shows one thing and the people in power tell you that it shows you another thing, and millions of people bray and lie and say they agree. That's Orwell, baby. That's the party told you to reject the evidence of your eyes and ears. It was their final, most essential command. And we're living in it. And it is real discouraging. And there, right now, really isn't anything that we can do. Any single one of us can do that's going to make a huge change. I think doom scrolling about it all day, every day is bad for you. I think it's horrible to find ourselves powerless at this moment. And I promise I'm not just making this about one party here. You've got the insane people. You've also got the people who just don't mind it enough, who talk about the price of eggs and civility. And they're all failing us up and down the aisle. And it can really make you crazy. Now, I'm just a writer, and I'm a dumb guy who talks about sports. I'm not looking for anybody to follow me for real life advice. I'll just make an observation, which is that I think at its deepest, darkest level, the problems we have right now are founded in the idea that, boy, oh boy, do all these people want us to hate something and hate someone. They really do. They don't much care who. They're just looking for targets. Most of our leaders parade around with a list of people it's okay to hate, which leads to a nihilism that tells you the only way to prevent getting hurt or even feeling bad is to hurt the people you hate, to hurt other people. And in a dark time, sometimes all we can do is not do that. Just not hate. Find a way not to hate. Even the people that you think deserve it. Do something kind. Try to, I know holding the door open for somebody isn't going to stop the invasions and the lies and treating the Declaration of Independence like toilet paper. But just for our own souls, whenever we feel a temptation to tip over into anger or nihilism, you can't stop it, of course. It's going to happen some. You can't fix all of this in an instant, but just at that one instant when you feel that, okay, I'm starting to get really mad or I'm starting to get really nihilistic, just do that moment, have a knee-jerk reaction, do one nice thing for a person who's not you, a person you don't know even. Tell someone you like their hat, as it were. It's good for your soul. It's good for their soul. It can get me out of the way of my own feeling horrible. Even if it's only just for a minute, 1 minute, it can replace the doom scrolling. And I'll tell you how I can make myself keep talking about the subject matter of this podcast, which is, it's fun. It doesn't matter. But I can do it because I hope what I just described is what I'm doing for you, telling you that your hat is awesome, offering up an hour where hopefully people are, maybe busting balls a little, but also by and large being kind to one another. And it's hard to live that way. Yesterday was a really difficult day to care about how old Derrick Henry is and whether he's going to fall off a cliff next year. But that's what I wanted to say in the intro of the show today. Maybe I'm just justifying putting my head in the sand and talking about things that don't matter for an hour. I don't know. But connecting with you over these silly things that maybe under the surface aren't that silly is the way that I know, for me, helps me not to despair. And I want everybody listening, I don't care your political bent. I want everybody listening to have a good day. I really do love you. And if you have a moment where you feel really bad and hopeless and you can manage it, I know I usually do feel a little less helpless when I just get out of myself and do one nice tiny little thing. Stop the doom scrolling and just be in the world with other people, even if it's only just for a moment and it goes away, but they add up. I really think they do. So that's it. That's what I wanted to say. Stick to sports. We're going to do that. We're going to stick to sports starting right now.
Today's kickoff.
Okay, on today's show, if that intro was something that upset you because you think everything's great, if it upset you because you shouldn't need to think about the real world when you don't want to, I certainly don't want you to be upset. Sometimes I need to let the audience know that I don't live in a vacuum and I have reactions to horrible things. But that's the end of it. The other 55 minutes here, let's have actual fun, and hopefully that can be a kindness to you and to me. This guy will be joining us.
Hello.
It is, of course, the unmistakable Jimmy McCormick. So I picked out something like, I think it's exactly 10 players, or no, it's not 10 players, but it's 10, either a player or like a type of season that they had, who were weird fantasy outliers this year. They might have ended the season really well, and are we supposed to believe in that? Or they ended it poorly, are we supposed to believe in that? Maybe they're older than would be optimal for them to be fantasy draftable next year. Maybe they had weird volume issues, or maybe they just play tight end. We'll talk about them. I thank you again so much for listening today. We're sponsored today by Mosh. I love the Mosh bars. I eat the Mosh bars after workouts. Just ate one yesterday after the gym. They are protein bars, but with a difference. Maria Shriver and her son, Patrick Schwarzenegger, lost Maria's father to Alzheimer's, and since then have dedicated themselves to fighting that disease. And one thing they did was create Mosh. In addition to being a good source of protein, Mosh bars have ingredients that support brain health, including cognizin, which you won't find in any other bar. Mosh bars taste great, big fan of the peanut butter crunch, and Mosh donates a portion of all their proceeds to research through the Women's Alzheimer's Movement. Really a great cause, plus something that gets you protein and is good for your brain. If you'd like to try them and give back to others while fueling your body and brain, head to moshlife.com/Harris to save 20% and get free shipping on the bestsellers trial pack or the plant-based trial pack. MOSHLIFE.com/Harris. 20% off. Give them a try.
Today's guest.
Underscore Baron, his jokes make me smile. Lawsuits he's drafted, never meaning to file.
And my goodness, if you know that very dramatic music, you know it's the underscore Baron. You can find Jim McCormick probably nowhere. He's not looking at social media these days because I don't feel like I want to look at it either. But you know what? He still has got his finger on the pulse of all things NFL, and that's why he's a great guy to have on here. I mean, we're going to talk tons and tons of NFL, Jim. But I just wanted to congratulate you because so many of your cases have now been settled. The underscore is firmly back in your family's camp. You know, it's basically, you've been coming on the show for 10 years telling us about all this legal wrangling, and now it turns out all is well and you're making money again.
But yeah, making money. A lot of it has for some reason Michael Jerry. A lot of it is like it's like we put it into thread advertisements, and I mean like threads the website, the website, but also like threading too. So it's just like he tried to double up. He got a deal, and it's not working out really well. People aren't threading very often lately.
Either one,
but yeah, either way, the underscore is huge there if you want. I have a name that's just all underscores. It's hard to tell who's saying anything, but.
But hey, you're making money. You're making money. The deal. I mean, you guys are in on the AI kick. I know.
Well, it's more like like the younger generation, like they're trying to reject some of this stuff. Like the underscores coming back. Not that it's coming back in the sense that it's more of the early 2000s kind of thing. We're an aughts kind of
brand.
We're like a shift key dependent world. So I'm hoping people get back to, the mechanical keyboards. Like this is what I'm about. So either way, that's my thing. We can move on because I think it's time to talk football and other punctuation.
I even reached your limit with this bit after.
It's not my limit. It's that at some point I pay royalties too. Like it's
every time we mention the underscore on the podcast, it's another $5 out of Jim's pocket.
The funny thing about a trust is no one trusts you. You know what I mean? Like
I do know what you mean. Well, I miss getting you on regularly, but I know, of course, you're educating Philadelphia's youth. We loved doing the YouTube show with Dave Piper for years. We recorded on Wednesday nights and it came out Thursday or something like that. I don't remember. It's all
I
blurred.
I was really close to 500 over the course of 5 years, somewhere around 500.
But it's a pleasure to hear in the off season. We have a little time. We can stretch out. We can record, say, for example, the night before a show's going to come out and get your weighing in. So my topic for this show is fantasy outliers from the past season and whether we're going to kind of believe in the outlier, whether we find ourselves, believing that an argument against a good performance is valid, or if we're kind of willing to throw the data out and just go, I kind of watched him play and I thought he was pretty good. I picked a whole bunch of players. A lot of it is kind of numbers-based stuff that maybe I'm looking to debunk, but maybe in some cases I'm not. I only picked one quarterback out. I picked Trevor Lawrence because from week 9 forward, Trevor Lawrence was the QB1 for fantasy on a per-game basis. Now, some of that is the fact that he had 7 rushing touchdowns in those 10 games, whereas in the 4 years combined prior, he had 14. So that's more. Did this run of Lawrence becoming really reliable, somebody that I think certainly by the fantasy semifinals, people were comfortable giving it a shot and using him, and he paid off all the way through. Did this run change the way that you're going to view Trevor Lawrence going forward?
Yeah, to a small degree. Like he's been working towards this for years. He's in my I semi-respect you club. He's been asking about this. No, but I think he is. He's in like the fringe fantasy starting club. He's not. I don't think he's any longer in that infinite like QB 1.5, yeah, or whatever you want to call it, like the fringe. But I suppose he's. It's the Liam Cohen effect. Maybe it's the Baker Mayfield thing, but meaning that that he just saw him help elevate another quarterback. But Baker's proving real. I suppose the thing is the running. I don't believe really that much. I mean, like. It's not as fake as like the Jameis Winston 6 touchdown year. Although he did catch a touchdown, so that's a little bit of slander. But the premise being that I don't believe the rushing stuff is that repeatable.
Me neither.
At least the touchdown rate part. I know he can run a little bit more than most, say, like pocket guys, but you could still run for 400 yards and you're not going to get 7 or 8 touchdowns rushing. So it just doesn't seem like that really even was that intentional if you saw how it happened. I don't think they're going to keep exposing him. I just don't think it's going to happen. But so I suppose I buy it in the sense that he's like a fringe usable guy, whereas before he was completely out of the realm. I do think I'm not going to have many shares of him next year, whatever horrible fantasy word you want to use, because I just think people are going to expect more progression going on from this. And I would just hope that he can even, I don't think there's more than this exactly. I think he's like a 28 touchdown guy, and that's fun, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there's something above this, but I think what's going to happen is the rushing is a bigger slice of the pie than people would admit, and it threw things off.
I agree with that. And I was telling people to use Lawrence mostly because the Jags became a wagon.
They were working. Yeah. They were working.
They became one of those offenses by the end of the year that you just wanted a piece of. But the notion that we know those teams beforehand, as you know, from 10 years of doing this with me, and more than that at ESPN before, one of my core tenets is that we're bad at knowing which those teams are going to be. And in fact, in September, Jacksonville wasn't one of them. They only really started being one of those in, November, maybe even into December. And so I just think Trevor Lawrence can still be a pretty good player. And it works out that the Jags just aren't quite the same level of wagon for whatever reason. There's always a million reasons. You get an offensive line that's hurt. You get not a good receiving core. Whatever. Everybody knows things change in the NFL from year to year. So can I separate Trevor Lawrence from the wagon that he just rode in on, that he was steering? I kind of can't. And those rushing touchdowns totally feel a product of that to me. So I'm kind of with you that I would tend to think, let's see what the market does with him.
Right.
Also, I kind of also think how his playoff life ends could wind up being the lasting impression. If it's horrible, if he comes right out and is horrible, we might just all go, never mind,
It could help invalidate some of this, right?
Yeah.
But if it does, not guessing what the impact of that is, but I think it's easy to guess that any healthy, semi-positive, vague positivity reports about Brian Thomas, that's a bigger mystery to me. But Travis Hunter, I'm just saying there's the potential for more helium or whatever you want to say, more gasoline to be thrown on this, just because this was done without the skill players. So there's this idea where I can just write the blurb in my head if you want right now, where it's just and they're adding this and they're adding that.
Right.
It's okay, send it
but
in.
But if he's, I'm not mad if he's QB7 because
no,
I'm not.
Yeah, right.
But I'm probably not drafting QB7 because QB11 is going to be the same player. I don't need to take QB7.
Right.
So
I
can
at ESPN, we had. I was there one year. We had Baker Mayfield 6, and I was like, "What are we doing?"
Yeah. Yeah. So all right, Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry finished as the RB6 in Standard. He finished as the RB8 in PPR, and earlier this week he turned 32. So he's aging gracefully. He's aging well. This turned into a good season. There were a couple of bumps, but I think mostly compared to most running backs, you would have taken, especially how he performed in that one unbelievable explosion game that, if you had him in that explosion game, you won that Thursday night game. But how do you rank a guy who's taken this much punishment, who just turned 32? I don't think he can be justified by the market, or frankly even by me, as a first round pick next year, despite and I don't think he will. I don't think, knowing that the market's going to put 5 receivers in the first round because of you dum-dums at ESPN. I'm wondering whether we should feel we would want him as a second, and or whether the market's going to do that with him. Because if he was 22, if he was 26 or whatever, I don't think there'd be much of a question.
Yeah, no, he'd be in the thicket. I'm not gonna lie, I kind of miss this guy's career. Every year I'm like, nah, this can't keep happening. So I'm gonna draft him this year. It's gonna be awful. But it's hard for he is an outlier. So at least of all the outliers that we can discuss, using the word outlier, he does fit it in the sense that performatively, play style, all those ways, right? Bucking the whole PPR era, all that stuff. at the same time, like there's going to be a lot of change in Baltimore. I don't know how that spells, but I'd rather there be continuity. Like if I'm gonna like say that it's gonna be just as good as last year or whatever, so I don't know. I mean, it would guess Monk and all those guys are gone, right? So the whole staff's gone. So what I mean is I don't know about that stuff. So mystery isn't great for me in that situation. Like maybe a new coach or a new, preference comes in, a style change, for example. Like we like to throw to the running back. No idea. My point is, it's not even about that. He's too old. I'm sorry. I'm out. Like, no.
Yeah,
He's amazing, but the decline won't have to be a cliff. It could just be that, like, maybe it will be a cliff. He's huge. I don't know. It's Eddie George. I don't know what this is.
well, it felt like the last year in Tennessee, it was over.
Mm-hmm.
This just in, that was 2 years ago.
It was like 38 touchdowns ago. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not over. And he didn't fool us just because he did short touchdowns this year.
No, it looked like him. Yeah, it was
right.
home runs.
I would argue that some of his home runs came earlier in games than they used to. We used to wait for carry 25, and he would have 24 bad carries, and the 25th carry would
wear
save
you down knockout. Right.
And I'm sorry, like this year felt like, maybe not so much. Felt like
I'm just a hater.
He has to be knocked down. There's no question about it. He has to be knocked down. How far is going to be very interesting, because I think the market will probably have a tendency to knock him down more than we would. Does that make sense?
I'll still take him in the second, because it's like at some point, just like he's going to have it's not even job security thing. He's just as good at what he does, right? Like he's going to do well in the job he does get. But yeah, I think there is an ageism thing that's going to happen, but I'm part of that because I'm saying it right now. So
yeah.
Late second is where I would take him, or around there. But again, it's January. I was gonna say it's May, but it's because that'd be great, but it's not.
I mean, going back to 2000, players in their age 32 season or older, there have been 4 guys who got to 1,000 yards, and none have gotten above 1,121.
Wow.
It's Ricky Williams, Adrian Peterson, Frank Gore, Emmitt Smith.
Right. I would have guessed Curtis Martin, and that didn't even happen. So
I think that was, wasn't.
No, but I'm saying even somebody who I think of as like somebody who aged really well didn't accomplish 32 is that like for example, there's this catcher the Phillies have, right? And everybody wants to re-sign him, or at least like that's the general like thing, but there's no curve that suggests that like an athletic catcher is ever going to be good at age X on, 33 on. And so you're basically just saying he's the one, he is truly the one. And that's been true with Derrick Henry for so long.
It has.
It's just that he's going to have to like, but that's not the same challenge. The challenge he faced was before. Now he's going to face another challenge, which is like, he keeps changing like the buckets, I guess, that people have been able to accomplish. And I suppose like, I'm fine being wrong again. I've always been on that side of the river anyway. So it's like,
this is probably an easier one, and these are 2 players that, no matter what we think, are going to go in the very early part of the first round. But Jonathan Taylor and Jahmyr Gibbs, anybody who had them this December lost their fantasy championship because they were RB1 and RB2 in the first 14 weeks of the season. From weeks 15 onward, they were RB21 and RB22. And I think we could probably explain away Jonathan Taylor a little easier because there's no respectable quarterback play for Indianapolis, and like it all went to poo. Jahmyr Gibbs, I guess it's probably unfair to blame Jahmyr Gibbs for the Lions imploding, but like the offense still scored a bunch of points, but he had games where he could not shake free. And I started saying on the show, like, I had Gibbs as my one, and I might be changing to Bijan Robinson now because it feels like when Bijan gets stuffed, he can still do something, and Gibbs just feels like he's a little more reliant on there being room, and maybe that's like a way to slip an index card between them. I don't think either Jonathan Taylor or Jahmyr Gibbs gets punished in any super meaningful way for the way this ended, but it ended terribly.
It did, yeah. And like you said, Taylor's is really like, this is the franchise. They amaze me. Like Jeff Saturday, like within the course of, I don't know how, like 30 months, Jeff Saturday and like a 71-year-old Phillip Rivers. It's incredible. Like just that meaning, I have no idea what's next. You could tell me anything about next year, the next December's Colts, and I'll believe you. Like like anything. You could tell me Andrew Luck came back to coach the team, and and I'm ready. Like, and he just has like that's what he was doing the whole time was like writing a thesis about how to coach the Colts. But either way, I trust the Colts will get it together, and I think barring like I don't know, Daniel Jones obviously like that's an issue, like them not having a quarterback. But if he is back at all, at least IR, he could be fine. Gibbs, I was scared about, but. Meaning I'm scared of the fact that he can run into a pile and be gone, right? It's just over. At the same time, there's something about him. Maybe it's the NBA fan in me, but like the way he moves, the way he can float sometimes, like the way he does need space. It's true, but when he does have it, it is just so nuts sometimes.
It is.
Not sometimes, most of the times. And I didn't watch as much football as I have in previous years. I watched a lot this year, but I'm saying I used to watch like way too much, like not as almost close to your level, not really, but. I guess what I'm trying to say is like when I saw him play this year, he did look different to me, and I don't know if you're saying that was lost. Like I can't say that I saw something fading if you did, but I just know that did the creativity or did like I know that didn't the coaching staff didn't Campbell just run the same play 150 times or am I wrong?
No, I think they tried to run the offense. I think the answer's. I'm making a mountain out of a molehill here.
Yeah,
I'm not going to change my Taylor Gibbs take. They're going to be top 5 picks. Am I going to get Bijan ahead of them right now? I think I might. But just as I can describe away Taylor, I can probably say Gibbs loses offensive linemen. The play calling stuff got a little weird.
Yeah.
The
it happened in Philly, like a really good
bad.
offense, like kind of fell apart, right? Like meaning
Yeah.
it's not the same, but it was in the sense I think that the brain drain can be real. That like you lose a great offense coordinator. We've seen it twice with Philly. Like Steichen leaves and the Eagles are like, "What is football?" And then Kellen Moore left, and they were like, "Wait, what? I forget again. What's football?" So I don't know. I think that's kind of what happened with Detroit. It kind of feels like the juggernaut shine is off with Detroit. Well, it is because they didn't make the playoffs. But I'm saying. That is a big cause, I think, for just they didn't play as well.
A quick break to thank Lisa for sponsoring today. They are the makers of my bed in the new year. I am very thankful that I sleep on a Lisa mattress. I love it. And I've been catching up on sleep, and it's just a perfect bed for me. And I'm thankful that Lisa has been a sponsor for just about the entire full run of this podcast, and therefore also thankful about how many Yacht Possums have gotten a Lisa mattress. And the way I know that is that they keep coming back to sponsor. So if you're listening today, and of course you've heard me talk about Lisa before, but now maybe you realize, it has been a while since we got a new bed, and I am a little bit stiff and sore, haven't been sleeping great. Well, I hope you'll keep Lisa in mind if it's time for a new mattress. If you buy a Lisa mattress, you get 4 months now, 4 months to sleep on it and make sure that it's perfect for you. If it's not, they will refund you. They'll come pick it up. I really think you'll love a new Lisa. It is their New Year's sale, 25% off all mattresses at leesa.com. And if you sign out using the code Harris, you'll get another $50 taken off the top for 25% off. Leesa.com for another $50 off. Use that code Harris. Okay, we're back with Jim, and we're talking about outlier players from the 2025 season, kind of the opposite of what we just talked about, big guys who faded when we needed them most. Rhamondre Stevenson would be the opposite because certainly not considered a big guy. He led all running backs in touchdowns the final 4 weeks of the regular season. After week 14, he was RB 45. It hiked his performance at the end, put him for the season at RB 25 in both standard and in PPR. And I've had conversations both on the free side with Cousin Josh and also on the pay side with Paywall Andy that Travion Henderson, they think they both are like, he's going in the second round. You're crazy. People are going to fall in love. I mean, I don't know if they think I'm crazy because I don't really have a take, but it seems high to me. Is there anything to the idea that Rhamondre proved something at the end of this season and that he's that he's not going away and that maybe he's the right pick? I mean, he's going to go much, much later. Or do we just kind of wipe it away and say they rode a hot hand for a few games?
Well, it's interesting because I never considered it to be I never considered like a long-term vision with it. Not that I was ready to get rid of Rhamondre because I I don't have footy pajamas on, meaning when he was dropping the ball when he was like dribbling it like a Celtic. But I think there's something to be said about like the resilience he showed. There is, and like this is not even to get like a crutch argument style, but it reminds me a little bit of Detroit, to go back to that, in the sense that can he stick around and be the Montgomery, in the sense that can he be like consume much more value than people are willing to generally pay. Henderson's going to go really high because what did he have, like 1,200 total yards and 9 touchdowns or something? Like the numbers are kind of there, and they're not kind of there, they are. And then he's got a cool name and he runs fast.
Right. He barely played to start the year. I mean,
right. But when he did play, there's so many splashes. It's just so easy to sell this. Like it's you don't have to sell it. It's real. But no, I think Stevenson doesn't go away. I think there's some sort of culture thing too. Like I don't know if it's the Vrabel loves the physicality of it all. I have no idea. But I think there's something cool about that Vrabel was like, we're not getting rid of this guy, and he backed it up and played well. I guess I'll pivot on you because you're the footy pajama guy. Like, is he good enough to sustain that kind of role, like the Montgomery type role where he's worthy of that 40-50% split or whatever you'd call that?
Yeah, as long as he doesn't fumble, he's a really good player. We've always liked him. He got hurt this year, obviously, and when he came back, he played very, very well. They were also, those last 2 games against the Jets and the Dolphins, they were utterly destroyed. They could do anything they wanted. Like
right.
You got 32 rush attempts out of Travion Henderson in those games, which sounds like holy moly. And I mean, that's a lot, but you got 15 out of Rhamondre. Rhamondre did it on the back of touchdowns, and he scored, I think, just against the Jets and the Dolphins those last 2 weeks, he scored 5 touchdowns.
Just hammered them. Yeah.
So and a couple of them receiving, little misdirection throws in the red zone, and I'm going to want Henderson, clearly, but he's going to be really expensive. There's again, I'll go back to, I'm not going to sit here and pretend I know who the wagon offenses are going to be next year, sitting in January of the previous year. If the Patriots are, if Drake May is ready to lead, and every week they're a threat to score 30 points on the scoreboard kind of offense, and it turns out that way, Henderson's going to be the one you want because he's the big play threat, and he can win a week, but they're going to be able to support 2 guys. And so having Stevenson in whatever middle round or later round that he goes, I think is going to wind up being worth it. Let me ask you about the goal line, because if I think back on this year, there were moments. I remember I was doing a live stream on Sunday morning during a Falcons London or a Europe game. I'm not sure where they were. And it was the one where Algier scored touchdowns, and people in the chat were losing their minds. Like, oh, Bijan has lost it. He doesn't have the goal line anymore. It's all over. And I was trying to calm everybody down, saying, I'm pretty sure this hasn't happened at all this year until this game. And then it wound up not happening that much after that. So other than those isolated incidents, it didn't feel to me like there were as many utter freakouts about who the goal line back is and who's going to get all the 1-yard touchdowns. And but still, there were some huge names that were a disaster from the goal line this year. Saquon Barkley, ya boy. Saquon Barkley having only 6 carries inside an opponent's 3 is wild in itself. Him only scoring on 1 of them. Oof.
Especially in a year where the tush push wasn't nearly as effective. It didn't work. It worked at a league average or below league average rate, and him, and also the idea that he's so good at getting the outside, not that and even from the 3-yard line, meaning the idea that you can bounce him out. It's just, listen, that's a deeper conversation. But yeah,
I mean, what I think it's a conversation about is
we're here now. Line. I mean, it's about his.
Yeah,
the offensive line really bad.
Really bad this year.
Bijan
himself
right side was one of the worst. Yeah.
Bijan had 5 tries from inside the 3, only scored once. Breece Hall had 2, only scored once. Chase Brown had 6, only scored twice. Ken Walker, losing a lot of those carries to Zach Charbonnet, had 7 carries and did score 3 times. I don't know. I'm not worried about Barkley. I'm worried about him for reasons that you just started talking about. I'm not really worried about Breece Hall. Hopefully he's on a different team. There wasn't someone else. There wasn't a different running back who was coming in and stealing. So I don't know if they're outliers as much as they were just victim of their surroundings. But guys like Bijan, I mean, Algier didn't get that many either, but he got more than Bijan did. Chase Brown started losing goal line touches to Samaje Perine. That's weird. And Ken Walker definitely lost them to Zach Charbonnet, and Walker's going to be a free agent, so we'll see. I guess, does your perception of those players whose situations could very much change by next year, the fact that they had bad goal line seasons that didn't produce touchdowns in the sweetest area that we want them, did it change your perception of any of those players?
Not particularly. I mean, sometimes it seems like also a quality, like maybe in Chase's case, it's not always that case, but like a quality of offense stat sometimes, meaning like how many red zone, like how effective were the Falcons at getting to the red zone and capitalizing there, or it's bad coaching, hopefully. I mean, I guess one thing that's positive is that Bijan's going to have a different scheme, so hopefully, or a different coach, so hopefully it changes how they do that. But at the same time, what's the reasoning behind it? That's the inside football stuff I don't know. Like, do they not, it's not, maybe not even that they don't trust the player. Do they want to spare the player? I don't know. I don't know enough information, honestly, to tell you why someone's not doing this or why their role's gone. And I think it's so volatile that I'm not going to say it's enduring or it's sticky, meaning like, I don't know if these roles are that like fixed, right? And that like Samaje Perine, he's a fringe player. It does scare you that a fringe player is getting the goal. I get that. Or that an Algiers getting touches over this guy, but it just seems like they're gonna have to spare them somewhere. I mean, whenever I have a fantasy player, even if I'm reasonable, I'm like, why is he out of the game? And it's like, well, and it's like he just, and it'll be like after Saquon just had like 11 straight, or like he would, like 9 carries, and he's like huffing and puffing on the sideline. He's showing you that he's like literally, please stop saying my name, and it's but like I can sit here and pretend to be composed, and I do the same ridiculous mouth breather stuff, and it's just true. So I just think the idea is that we think these are full-time roles, or that we get enamored by this like Christian McCaffrey 99% season. Guys, his like legs are still paying for that, or whatever stat you want. So it's like no, I just think it's a bullpen kind of approach, right? To the meaning bring your specialist in kind of approach to football. And it tends to survive the position, it seems better. And there's only so many Derrick Henrys that the world's going to, enjoy.
So the numbers are that Charbonnet got like double the carries inside the 3 that Walker did. That's an issue, but Walker might wind up somewhere else.
That's real. That seems real. That seems way more real because like they had 2 backs that they could like truly, I think, compare. Chase Brown, I don't think they're comparing. Like if you see all the other usage, like that, it started feeling 50-50 in Seattle, I suppose. So I can buy that. In Atlanta, you never felt that way, of course.
Yeah, I mean, Algier had 6, and I think I said Bijan had, or Bijan,
5.
Sorry,
yeah,
5. So like that's not a huge. It's just that Algier was better at it. Algier got plays. He had better results. I don't know if he's better at it.
And I'd like to think like what's the ratio of like.
Also, Algier's a free agent. Algier's going to be potentially play. I think probably playing somewhere else. You're not going to pay Tyler. Maybe all that Kirk Cousins money that he just renegotiated with goes to Algier.
Feels like a Cleveland Brown, like $9 million guaranteed. Write it down.
I think the larger point is that this is an area of freak out that you can point to every single year, and it just isn't sticky. Like we can come up with a reason for all these guys, and so I just say. If it felt like bad luck, I do not think there's anything about Bijan Robinson that causes him not to be able to score from the 2.
I guess that was my question. Like what if in your analysis do you find something? Then maybe that could be a reasoning. Really. But if it's purely just what the coaches are choosing, I don't think it's that safe to just say, well, the coaches think so this guy definitely can't do that. It's like, well,
right, and I would love it if a player that we really like's value gets degraded because in a year he was bad at the goal line, because
contextual stuff too. Yeah, right.
Yeah. So, wide receivers, the biggest outlier. I came up with so much stuff for Davante Adams. We could do a whole Davante Adams show on Outliers.
No, go for it. I love it.
I mean, there's age. So he turned 33. So this was his age 32 season, the day before Christmas. I don't know if maybe technically because it was still last year, maybe it was his age 33 season. I'm considering it age 32.
I go with the when did you start the season kind of thing. So
I don't think that's what they do, but it doesn't matter. Okay. In this case, it's so late that it's 32. Too bad. Everybody can suck it. He finishes wide receiver 7 in fantasy points per game in standard and 9 in PPR. And of course, I have to do points per game because he got hurt and he didn't play in the fantasy playoffs. But if I consider this his age 32 season, and therefore I'm going to compare him historically to age 33 receivers, the best wide receiver 33 or over this past season was Keenan Allen, who wasn't all that good. I think he would have been better had the offensive line not gotten hurt, but you're not going to point to that as like a wonderful season for a player that age. Other players who've achieved okay at 33 plus in like the last 10 years, it's like Julian Edelman in 2019. He was wide receiver 9. Adam Thielen, that weird year 2 years ago, was wide receiver 25. I hope we're not pointing to that as a reason. If you go 20 years back, you can get to like Reggie Wayne had a good year. Larry Fitzgerald had a pretty good year. Terrell Owens had a pretty good year. Actually, the last 20 years, Julian Edelman is the best age 33 wide receiver or better for fantasy, which doesn't strike me as a great argument in favor of Davante Adams. And then I'll throw in another outlier aspect of his crazy season, which, of course, is how many touchdowns he scored inside the 5. That would be 9. 9 touchdown receptions from inside the 5, according to my deep dive and research. Only Dez Bryant in 2013 can match that this century, and he was 24 years old at the time. And then Dez's next year, when it was guaranteed, of course, he's always going to score from inside the 5. He went from 9 touchdowns down to 5 touchdowns caught inside the 5. This is a whole. I threw a bunch of stuff at you, but I also emailed it to you beforehand, so the listeners are getting it for the first time. But you knew where I was going with all this. Age and the incredible skill and chemistry that it has with Matt Stafford, but it does lead to a wild 9 touchdowns that came in close. What does that do to your perception of Adams for next year, and or what do you think the market will do with him?
I mean, he's part of the reason Bijan didn't score. 9 touchdowns? That's crazy.
Even on a different team.
No, I mean, seriously, Bijan was watching and he was distracted. Like, he just was like, this is incredible. Also, he has a Taco Bell in his house, which can't be healthy as you age. That's a terrible choice. Like, even ordering Taco Bell is terrible.
You don't know this, but on the Paywall show, Andy is definitely agreed he's going to do the Taco Bell marathon where you have to stop every mile and eat an item off the Taco Bell menu.
Oh wow, this is exciting. I mean, that's truly that works for me. I'm the demographic who like would be a part of like sponsoring that with my eyeballs and my credit card. Yeah, no, but it's all true. Everything you said is like it's not the same thing as
Derrick Henry.
As talking about Derrick Henry, because Henry like also showed it in every other way. Like I am just kind of just purely going on the supposed or predicting decline based on that he would have to be just such a historic outlier and continue to do it. And it's very likely or very possible that he could continue to do that because he is a weirdo. Adams is showing all the other signs, though, other than the touchdowns, right? Like, or at least, yeah, he is. Like, the yardage wasn't there. He's incredible at what he does. Isn't it also strange? Not strange, but like unrepeatable, rather, like how often that team passed in short. You could say they're going to do that again. We saw this with Aaron Rodgers. They did that over and over in Green Bay, right?
The jerk face touchdown. It's to get the MVP. Yeah. We have a whole sound drop for it.
No, it is. It is. It's true. I mean, he's got a nice. He looks like he's got like child actor face. You know, like was like his hottest at 15, which is weird to say, but it's just the truth. You know,
Stafford. Yeah.
Let's just say 18 and just be cool about it because I'm a teacher. So. But but the real point is that like it felt exactly, you said that's the right word, manufactured. It felt intentional, and it's not easy to stop that. Obviously, I don't think it's easy to repeat all those opportunities. And I don't know, maybe Puka next year is like Puka's already live streaming. He might not like losing all these touchdowns at some point because he's a 20 touchdown type guy. That's ridiculous. My real point is it's not sustainable age-wise, but it's also not sustainable usage or like outcome-wise. It's an outlier because it is an outlier. Like,
so if I made you see this, I know I didn't make you do this for this, and you shouldn't be doing this right now because we shouldn't be ranking for next year yet. I wait until after the draft to do that. But if I made you, without looking at the other receivers, just kind of wildly pick a number of what you could imagine Davante Adams being ranked for you among receivers next year.
It's like 29, 30. 29. I don't know. Am I crazy?
We are sponsored again by BetterHelp. It's a new year. I think sometimes there's pressure that comes with the new year, like, oh man, I got to change everything. I got to get happier right now. I think that's a lot. It's also a lot easier said than done, and I've said this before, I do not necessarily think that every single person hearing the sound of my voice this moment needs therapy this moment. I do think literally everyone could use someone to talk to at some point in their life, and if you happen to be at such a point right now, there is no shame in it. Therapy is a great way to get an unbiased perspective on how you're feeling. Just having to say stuff out loud can be really clarifying. I do therapy online, and if you'd like to give it a try, BetterHelp can help. You can take a short questionnaire. You get matched with a therapist. You can always change therapists at no charge. They've served 5 million people globally, have a 4.9 rating out of 5 for a live session based on 1.7 million reviews. And I can get you 10% off your first month at betterhelp.com/Harris. That's betterhelp.com/Harris. betterhelp.com/Harris. Okay, we're back with Jim, and I've got more fantasy outliers that I would run by him and see whether he believes in what I'm cooking here. Jameson Williams. It was a season with a lot of angst about Jameson Williams for somebody who finished wide receiver 10 standard, wide receiver 12 PPR. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, I would.
There was a lot of angst
awesome this year.
He still averaged, like last year. I asked the same question on this show last year to Jake Seeley. Last year, he averaged fewer than 4 catches per game. He did it again this year. Finished wide receiver 10 standard, wide receiver 12 PPR, catching fewer than 4 passes per week. He can do this. Obviously, he just did it. He also had 9 games of single-digit fantasy points in standard and 7 of them in PPR. He only got over 100 receiving yards 4 times. I did think he was better, and when Dan Campbell took over play calling, it was very clear he tried to make Williams more a part of the game plan, but he still had disappearing weeks even after Campbell took over the play calling. I don't know if what people will do with Jameson Williams, I don't know where they're going to rank him. If they came out and said, well, I just saw him finish 10 and 12, and therefore I'm making him a top 15 receiver this year, what would your reaction be?
Thank you. Because I'm not going to do that, so I'll be waiting for someone else to do that. I mean, I'm also sitting there with I have on my desk at work I have a Deshaun Jackson Lego, and so it's hard for me to hate on James Williams since he's like the incarnate, like he's the next one where it's like he's the ultimate spike week. I remember very early in my fantasy career, I was sitting there arguing with you at ESPN in some like small like boardroom B about like Deshaun Jackson. And I was like, he was wide receiver 9. You were like, it was 3 games. It was maybe 3 catches. like he had 3 91-yard catches, which isn't true. But my point is like when all of your playmaking is so consolidated, it's really difficult. It's not that much different than like a super streaky home run hitter. Like, yes, the back of the baseball card looks fun, but the experience isn't nearly the same. And that's what he feels like, a very frustrating player. But it was fun this year because you didn't have to invest at a wide receiver 10 price. It was more in the mid wide receiver 3 range, really. So yeah, I think the price will be inappropriate this year. It just will be. He's got the age. He's got the speed.
It probably will. Yeah, I think it probably will be too. I will say though, he was a lot less Deshaun Jackson-y this past season than he's ever been in his career. Only 9 of his catches were 20-plus air yards. He made a lot of big plays.
And he can do more. He can do more he can do more short yardage stuff. He can do more cool screens. And there is stuff that funnel screens are fun for him because he's got that like punt return mentality, like which reminds me of because he can just like obviously just like change fields. I suppose also like if they hire some like an offensive coordinator who has like a really cool like I know I say lacrosse names, but seriously, like if Dan Campbell has somebody he can pal around with, like Chet Hattingham or something, like like Chet Hamfist or something really manly, you know?
Chet Hamfist. Well,
and they're just like talking about they're just like, we're gonna punch people and throw the ball deep, and it's just like Jameson Williams like yes,
Hamfist. That's beautiful. Is that Dutch?
I think it is. Yeah, there's an umlaut for sure.
Emeka Egbuka. Ooh, I just sent shivers down some people's spine by saying his name. He finished. Congratulations, Emeka, as the wide receiver 18 standard, 23 in PPR. That's amazing for a rookie season. If you had told everybody that Emeka Egbuka was going to finish as a low-level wide receiver 2 on whole as a rookie, you'd be like, wow, unreal, I'll sign up. Until you realize that after week 10, he was, up until week 10, he was wide receiver 8. So he never scored another touchdown after week 10. From weeks 11 to 13, he did 23 total catches in all of those games for 261 total yards. And I once again reemphasize 0 touchdowns. I mean, his film is good. His film isn't bad. I don't think he's a bad player. I wonder what is going to happen to a player who killed so many people who started relying on him halfway through the year when he just disappeared. Like, I don't know what's going to happen. I'm not, because like Mike Evans, free agent, might retire. Who knows? Like, I have no idea what Mike Evans is going to do. I think Chris Godwin's still going to be there, but like, there's a potential jumble among the wide receivers. Do you come away from this season thinking that Egbuka was something like a mirage? Do you think that the market will like see through this and still value him, or is he like destined to be wide receiver 40? It's such a hard season to like make any dramatic conclusion out of.
Yeah, I mean, like in week 8, you didn't have to explain anything. Like I could just like fake fantasy guy voice and be like, "He's a stud. Move on."
Yeah, exactly.
Next one. Like you didn't have to like. But to be honest, it felt that way. Like it felt like it was stamped. He had like all these like things going for him. The Ohio State thing, meaning just like that felt like it was real. I think it is real. Like as the talent, like, at least from. Again, I didn't see every game he played this year, but I did watch a good amount of the Bucs. And what's strange to me is that there were times, I know you mentioned that like when they were hurt. I also feel there was times late in the season when like Mike Evans was hurt again, like when he got re-injured. It was strange to me that he didn't resurface in those moments, that they were going, like you said, at the end.
Jalen McMillan. I mean,
that's
Jalen
what I mean.
McMillan had a
McMillan
huge game in this fantasy semifinals. Yeah.
Yes, it was really confusing. I definitely was box score hunting. I had him all over the place. So Egbuka, I'm gonna trust that he's really good. I know I just did the opposite with Williams and with basically doubting that. I just think it's a different player, and I suppose like there's just is the rookie thing. Like I suppose if you inverted it, which you can't, but if you inverted it, obviously getting better at the end, like that'd be so much better, right?
Oh yeah.
But he did do those things on the NFL field, and I get it. Like maybe there was more tape and all these things. I really don't get it. I'm making that up. But I suppose I'm willing to trust that. Like I'm going on a prior here too, because I liked the player before. He performed. I just don't think you perform that well, even if it's like through these arbitrary endpoints, whatever you want to call them. They're not arbitrary because they happened, meaning like he was good and then he wasn't. But I don't know enough about what caused all that. I just know that I buy the fact that he's a pretty good player. And to put up, like, I don't know, his numbers, while they experientially weren't very fun to go through, I feel like he's going to build on them. And just hopefully it's not, maybe he's like a big looking Deshaun Jackson. I don't know. Like,
I think he's not that.
No, I'm joking. But I mean, like,
yeah,
like,
I know.
Is he a spike player? I don't know. It feels to me, I don't know. Baker Mayfield.
He seems like he shouldn't be. He seems like he should be a Chris Godwin type. This was the
that's what I mean.
We were making. Yeah,
it felt like he was going to be the more reliable guy, not the boundary guy. But well, again, there is a lot to be said. They are obviously, we've been talking about age. Those guys are getting older. I mean, Evans is getting close to some of the cutouts you've already talked about. So I'm still pretty high on this guy.
The answer will probably change quite a bit depending on the personnel moves that Tampa makes.
I mean, a couple Schefter tweets could change all this.
Right. Like Evans being gone would probably make the field feel like it opened up a little bit. And I don't think Godwin will be gone because he just signed a giant deal to, last offseason.
Yeah, I think it'd be like this cap, no way kind of thing.
Right. I mean, I don't really believe in the cap. You can make anything go away with
money.
No,
right. But I mean, eating it, I think, who knows?
He's just been a good player for them for a long time, and it seems like unless he wants to quit or they just decided he's done. The player that I talked about before, Egbuka, was Jameson Williams. Well, guess what? Jameson Williams going a hell of a lot higher than Emeka Egbuka. And
yes.
I think you'll probably have to have him ranked that way, but just not. Like, we'll probably be more interested in taking Egbuka at his price than Jameson Williams at his price. So because I tend to be with you. Like, I know a lot of people listening. Friends would text me like, how can I use Emeka Egbuka? I'm like, dude, don't. Don't use him anymore. After the first few games,
you didn't text me that. I used him in the finals in large. So.
Oh boy.
I had to.
Yeah,
the ghost of Davante Adams.
You did lose in the large final. We buried the lead there.
I did.
But Rick had never won the championship, and he's been in that league a long time. So yeah.
It was a good battle. It was a good season. I could feel it happening. I could feel my ship taking over water. Yeah, it was fun. It was a good run.
You had lost one game the entire year into that final.
Yeah, it was fun.
All right, tight ends. Wait, I just woke myself up. No, but Trey McBride is worth talking about because his fantasy point total would have had him finishing as the wide receiver 5 in standard and the wide receiver 4 in PPR. Everybody listening to the sound of my voice right now who's listened to me for any duration knows that I'm not going to be paying a first round pick or an early second round pick for Trey McBride. But man, I understand where the Trey McBride in the first round people are, especially the way this ended with Brissett just throwing it to him a million times. Like, they're going to have ammunition.
I guess, again, we've talked about how many changes there are to come, right? Because, like, you would hope they're going to improve on Jacoby Brissett. It's going to be like Tua or something incredible like that. But just like it just is. They're going to try this. They will. I know we've had I could recall old VORP conversations about tight end and people trying to
Sam Laporta,
and it's just it's just so and there are a lot of bullet points you can use to say to choose it, and that he does have these things. And again, the most convincing one would be he's a wide receiver just playing tight end, and in some senses that's true. But is this the peak? Is this his best year? Is this what does this speak to? And what's the payoff? The biggest problem is that you're guaranteeing what you're trying to say is that you're guaranteeing a huge margin over the position, and we just saw it with the Raiders guy. I know I should know his name because Bowers, because I follow football. Yeah, I should know that. Yeah, I should know that. I knew it was something really cool like Brock Bowers. I know it sounded like a made-up name. And so, it's been disappointing. There's many situations like that. You just mentioned Laporta. We can go over and over all the times I've been disappointed.
The many Kelsey years. Yeah.
Yeah, so you can point to the legends, and that's great. I'm not quite sure that this is what we're talking about, but more importantly, it's all opportunity cost. It just really is.
Opportunity cost. I mean, that's it. This great season where Trey McBride finishes as the wide receiver 5 or 6 or whatever, or 4. The problem is tight ends aren't drafted in your league. There's too many available. So the VORP, the replacement player that you can find in the 11th round, you just, in the 11th round, you're drafting the wide receiver 51. You're drafting the running back 43. You're drafting the tight end 11 or 12, and just the distance between those fantasy point totals just isn't. This historic season for Trey McBride, in VBD terms, he finished 25 in standard. He finished higher in PPR. He finished 14 in PPR. That is not a reason. That's the absolute best he could ever possibly do, and it's not a reason to take him there, because the second he gets hurt, there's just too many guys.
And again, how repeatable are all the conditions that led to it? And he could continue to be very great. He could have a better fundamentally NFL season after this and still not give you the reward you're looking for.
But I have to acknowledge that it's an outlier season when a tight end finishes as the wide receiver 4 in PPR. That's amazing. And it is going to give those people lots and lots of megaphones to be screaming that you should be taking Trey McBride early. But as you said earlier, let him. Good, cool, do it. That more for me, Last guy I wanted to bring up because everybody listening loves pain, Kyle Pitts. From week 13 on, Kyle Pitts was better than Trey McBride. Almost in standard he was, and in PPR almost. Obviously, he had to turn around and hose anybody who thought they could rely on him in the fantasy finals because of his Kyle Pitts. Of course he did. But having him go on this very high-profile tear where a couple of those games were on national TV and people were, the announcers were singing his praises because they're just going to sing the praises of anybody who does well. He's age-wise totally in his prime. He's a free agent. I have to imagine the Falcons will not be re-signing him, whoever now runs that team. He's going to get a big contract, though. This December, this outlier in Pitts' career, this is going to fake someone out in fantasy, correct?
Yeah, I mean the Jets are going to give him like $60 million. It's just obvious.
Right. Well, that's the Jets, though. I'm talking about fantasy drafters.
No, I know. I'm just imagining they will. Yes, because it's also there's a romance to like that he had been that he was the classic, stop fooling me. Basically, fool me 3 times. It's like shame on everybody or whatever. Like because like it was continual. Like I literally like. I have flashbacks to being like, no, this is the year, Kyle Pitts. Seriously, like, just like ruining family reunions, like which are already a mess. And then I had all my uncles drafting Kyle Pitts. It was awful. I had to block everybody. But like, it's true. But I think it's full circle, and I don't buy it because there were a lot of circumstances that, of course, led to it, like Drake London and all these other things. And I don't know, Kirk Cousins, just like when he likes you, he's like, hey, I like you, buddy, and yeah, it's not repeatable. And all the conditions are going to be different. Like you said, not only are the conditions for, like, even if he was staying in Atlanta, they'd be different. But he's more than likely not, right? They're not going to reinvest in this. So, yeah, I think this is even more dangerous than McBride. Because I think it's even like at least I'm getting a 3rd-round pick, not at worst, but like that'll probably work out to being a 3rd-round pick with McBride. Like, and that's bad because of what you gave up. But like, I don't know. There's going to be some guys out there just like really like going like Pitts. I don't know how crazy it'll get, but there's a lot of room there with tight end to move up. So it's just him and Dallas Goedert can fight for that, like wherever they play.
That would be great if they both landed on the Steelers or something.
Exactly. They should do like that like
8 tight ends.
Like have Bill Belichick as a consultant. He's like, just pay the tight ends, okay?
Yeah, I mean, the answer, of course, is that, of course, somebody's going to buy. Of course, somebody in fantasy is going to be like, hey, who's a sneaky good ad in the 6th round?
Yeah. You know who looks good in powder blue? Kyle Pitts.
Yeah, we're not doing that. That's for sure. It's just Evan Ingram. Remember, every year, Evan Ingram would go on a little run, and people would be like, it's finally happening. And I just, no, it's not. Trust me, it's not. He stinks. All right, Jim. Well, these were fun names to talk through with you, and I appreciate you taking the time to come aboard the yacht. Folks can not follow you. They can follow you if you're not going to really
see me on the weekends. Go to ESPN's NBA pages, whether it's standard NBA or fantasy NBA, and I do a thing called Daily Notes. So I tell you what's happening in the NBA. That's on the weekends only. There, yeah.
I mean, that's a great place to be.
Yeah, it's fun. I basically tell you what's happening in the NBA. It's fun.
That's great. Well, we appreciate you joining us again. You're one of my best friends, of course, in the industry and in real life, too. And we miss hanging out with you on a weekly basis. But what a pleasure to get to catch up with you. And hopefully we'll do it again soon.
Obviously, go Birds.
And thank you so much for listening, obviously. Go Birds. Let me also thank the 3 sponsors that made today's show possible. We had Mosh for some protein bars for a good cause with good brain health support. We had Lisa for a wonderful mattress and BetterHelp if you're interested in talking to somebody about what's going on in your life. That's a good idea, too. You can find information about today's sponsors in today's show notes, and all the current sponsors are listed at harrisfootball.com. That's going to do it for this fun episode. We will be back on Monday with Andy for the Paywall Andy Show, the Yacht Club show. So if you're a subscriber, you'll get Andy and my reaction to the wild card games this weekend. Of course, if you listen to the Monday show this week, you heard our preview of all of the wild card games. I believe we're also maybe going to do a film futures. I'm going to draw Andy into the film futures world. Maybe we'll both watch some film on a young player and talk about him for Monday's show as well. And then I'll be back here, of course, on the free side for Thursday with our regular, like we've done for years and years, our Thursday weekly show. I don't actually know who the guest is yet, but I know we'll be talking about potential salary cuts, players who could find themselves on the wrong side of being released because of their salaries. And then I'm sure I'll also do film futures. It's a good time of year for me to catch up and talk film futures as well. So we'll probably do one of those on the Thursday show next week as well. Until then, thanks again so much for listening. Your hat is awesome. You're awesome for wearing it. I will talk to you next time.
The Harris Football Podcast's opening theme is Under the Gun by Apex Manor. The closing theme is Say Yes by The Wellspring. Subscribe to the podcast on iTunes and never miss an episode.